A standard apartment balcony in the United States measures around such as square feet. That sounds like barely enough room for a couple of chairs and a potted plant. But here is something most people never think about. The lu feet of vertical space rising above that railing represents another luscious square feet of potential growing surface. That space is already there. It costs nothing. And for most gardeners, it goes completely unused year after year. Many people believe that growing a meaningful amount of food requires a large piece of land. But research on vertical growing systems shows that a tower planter can produce up to 8 times the amount of food in the same ground footprint as traditional soil gardening, while using less than 1% of the water. The direction of growth matters far more than the size of the plot. That is why vertical tower planters have become one of the most talked about tools among home gardeners across the country. They reduce weeds, limit pests that travel from the ground, improve airflow around the plants, and make watering and harvesting far more convenient. But here is the part that most beginner videos leave out. Not every plant belongs in a tower planter. Place the wrong plant in the wrong pocket, and you can lose an entire growing season without ever understanding why. In today's video, we are counting down 10 of the best plants specifically suited for a vertical tower system. One of them can give you your first harvest in under 60 days. Another uses the open air above the tower to create a second harvesting zone without taking up a single extra inch of ground space. One plant can keep producing fresh leaves from the same pocket for months on end. And the number one plant covers every level with flowers, foliage, and fruit that comes back again and again throughout the season. If this is your first time on this channel, we share practical gardening ideas every week for people who want to grow more in less space. Hit subscribe so you do not miss what is coming next. Now let us start the countdown. Number 10 is parsley. Most beginners give up after 2 or 3 weeks of silence from the soil, convinced the seeds were bad. They were not. Parsley is simply one of the slowest herbs to germinate, often taking to C weeks. Soak the seeds in warm water overnight before planting, and you can shave several days off that wait. Once established, parsley roots grow downward rather than outward, making a pocket around 2 inches deep in the middle levels of your tower the perfect home. Always harvest the outer stems first, and the plant will keep producing for many months from one small pocket. Number 6 is mint. In open ground, mint spreads through underground runners and takes over everything around it. A tower pocket solves this completely. The roots cannot escape, so you get all the flavor and fragrance without losing control of the garden. Cut the tip of each stem just above a leaf node, instead of picking individual leaves, and 2 new shoots will emerge below the cut. Repeat this through the season, and the plant becomes fuller and more productive over time. Number 7 is short carrots. Long carrot varieties need deep soil that most tower pockets cannot provide. Short varieties need only about 2 to 8 inches of loose, finely prepared growing medium, which fits a standard pocket comfortably. The texture of the soil matters more than anything else. Even one small stone or hard clump can cause the root to fork. So directly, keep moisture even, and thin the seedlings once they are up. Pulling a smooth round carrot from loose soil with your own hands is one of those small moments that makes growing your own food genuinely rewarding. Number 8 is arugula. Its greatest strength is speed. Young leaves are ready to harvest just 8 to 60 days after sowing. Leave the plant too long in warm weather and the flavor sharpens quickly while a flower stalk rises from the center. Sow different pockets about 8 weeks apart so that as one pocket ages, the next enters its best harvesting window. Rotate the tower away from harsh afternoon sun during warm spells and keep the succession going all season long. Number 9 is basil. One correctly placed cut changes everything about how this plant grows. Cut the growing tip just above a healthy pair of leaves instead of removing only the large lower leaves. 2 new branches develop from those joints. Repeat the process and one stem gradually becomes a low compact bush with far more harvestable leaves than it would ever produce on its own. Remove flower buds the moment they appear and the plant keeps producing all season. This branching habit also keeps basil from shading the levels below it in the tower. Number 4 is baby beets. What looks like a single beet seed is actually a cluster containing several seeds. 2 or 3 seedlings can emerge from one sowing point, and if you do not thin them early, none of the roots develop properly. When seedlings reach about inches tall, snip the weaker ones at soil level. Those thinnings go straight into a salad. Once one strong plant remains per pocket, the root develops without competition. Young leaves are ready in 25 to 35 days, and roots follow at 45 to 60 days. Number 2 is spinach. Its most common failure has nothing to do with soil or water. It comes down to temperature. Warm soil causes seeds to stay dormant or fail entirely. Place moistened seeds between 2 damp paper towels, keep them in the refrigerator for Santa wood days, and move them into the pocket as soon as a tiny root tip appears. This pre-chilling step dramatically improves germination and is something most guides simply never mention. Position spinach in the middle or lower levels on the cooler side of your tower. Number 3 is radishes. No other plant on this list uses tower pockets more efficiently. A complete crop cycle takes as little as 4 to 6 weeks, which means radishes can fill a pocket that will later be used by basil, peppers, or cucumbers. By the time the longer season plant is ready, the radishes have already been harvested and the pocket is waiting. Round varieties need only about 1 to low inches of soil depth. Keep moisture consistent because dry spells make the roots small and sharp in flavor, and sudden heavy watering after dry periods causes splitting. Number 2 is dwarf kale. It earns its spot through one quality most vegetables cannot match. It does not need to be pulled up to keep producing. New leaves continuously emerge from the center, and as long as you take only or san outer leaves at a time and leave the central growing point completely untouched, the plant keeps replacing what you remove for many months. Place dwarf kale in the upper levels where the leaves can spread without shading smaller plants below. Never cut through the central growing point or new leaf production stops entirely. Number low is leaf lettuce. It earns its place through flexibility that head lettuce simply cannot offer. You have sand harvesting approaches available at any time. Harvest baby leaves by cutting the entire cluster at 4 to 6 inches tall. Use the cut and come again method by removing only outer leaves while the center keeps growing. Or cut the whole cluster 8 inches above the soil and wait for a smaller second crop. Shallow roots mean pockets around 1 to low inches deep work perfectly. Stagger sowings are weeks apart, and you will always have one group entering its best stage as another begins to age. Number 1 is Swiss chard, and it is the only plant on this list that does 2 completely different jobs at once. The first is production. Consistent outer leaf harvesting keeps the center pushing out new growth for a very long time. The second is visual impact. The stalks come in white, yellow, orange, pink, and red, and a tower planted with Swiss chard looks more like a decorative display than a food garden. Place it in the upper levels where the broad canopy can spread freely and harvest leaves before they reach maximum size for the most tender results. Number C is dwarf sugar snap peas, and the key insight here is simple. Your tower planter is not just a container for soil. It is a launching point for growth that happens above it. Compact varieties like Sugar Ann and Tom Thumb climb a small trellis installed above the top compartment. The roots stay inside the pocket while the vines climb into open air and pods form along a vertical structure that adds a new harvesting zone without occupying a single additional inch of ground. Install the support before seedlings need it. Sow directly because peas dislike root disturbance. And remember that peas vacate the pocket just as warm season plants like peppers and cucumbers are ready to take over, keeping your tower productive from early spring through midsummer without any gaps. Number 7 is compact peppers. The contrast this plant creates is one of the most satisfying things in container gardening. The canopy is genuinely small, but what it carries in terms of fruit is not. A compact pepper plant in the right conditions can hold dozens of fruits simultaneously. Peppers need the large upper compartment with a growing medium equivalent to at least a sand to gallon container. Start seeds indoors before the last frost date, and move plants outdoors only after nighttime temperatures have settled reliably above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Install a stake early because even a compact plant can lean when the fruit load becomes heavy. Ease back on high nitrogen fertilizer once flowering begins. The most memorable thing about compact peppers is that contrast. You look at the plant and think it cannot possibly produce much. Then harvest day arrives and proves you completely wrong. Number R is compact climbing cucumbers. The length of the vine was never the real problem. The direction it grows is everything. When guided up a trellis above the tower rather than left to sprawl across the ground, a cucumber vine produces a full harvest without occupying extra floor space. Compact varieties like Patio Snacker and Bush Pickle are bred specifically for this kind of growing. Use small mesh netting rather than thick stakes because cucumber tendrils grip fine surfaces far more effectively. Here is the detail that separates successful growers from frustrated ones. Cucumbers need more consistent moisture than almost any other plant on this list. Irregular watering leads directly to bitter fruit or a hollow center. The upper compartment dries faster than lower levels because it receives more sun and wind, so check soil moisture daily during hot weather. Never let the first fruits become overripe on the vine because one aging cucumber consumes energy that should be going toward new fruit. And now we arrive at number E. The plant that earns the top position not simply because it fits inside a tower planter, but because it uses the entire structure more completely and more naturally than anything else on this list: ever-bearing strawberries. Picture your tower in the middle of summer. Every pocket has a plant. The leaves spread outward at each level. Small white flowers face outward in every direction. And hanging over the edges of the pockets, clearly visible and within easy reach, ripe red strawberries are ready to be picked. That is not an exaggeration. That is exactly what a well-planted strawberry tower looks like at its peak. The roots are shallow, needing pockets only about low to bar inches deep. The foliage stays compact. The flower stems grow outward naturally, and as berries gain weight, they hang down over the pocket edge rather than resting on damp soil. Start with young transplants or bare root crowns. When planting, the crown must sit exactly at soil level. Too deep and moisture accumulates, leading to rot. Too shallow and the upper roots dry out. Right at the surface is the only correct position, and this one detail matters more than anything else when growing strawberries in a tower. Apply a balanced fertilizer every 6 to 2 weeks, and avoid high nitrogen products which push leaf growth at the expense of fruit. Plan to refresh pockets with new plants after E2R years. Varieties like Albion, Seascape, and Tristar produce fruit in multiple waves from late spring through fall. Remove the first blossoms on newly planted crowns so the plant builds strong roots before shifting into production. Harvest only when the entire berry surface has turned fully red because strawberries do not sweeten significantly after picking. Ever-bearing strawberries hold the top position because they do not just occupy the tower. They complete it. Every level, every pocket, every part of the structure becomes part of a living system that keeps producing from the first warm days of spring through the final harvest of fall. After going through all shrub plants on this list, one idea keeps coming back to the surface. The size of your garden was never the real limitation. What you grow in it, and how thoughtfully you arrange it, is what determines how much comes back to you at harvest time. A tower planter with the right plants in the right pockets rotated a quarter turn every few days to keep all sides in the light, watered consistently from the top so nutrients reach every level, and replanted pocket by pocket as each crop finishes its season. That kind of system does not just produce food. It stays alive and changing and productive from the first warm days of spring through the last harvest of fall. Every time one pocket empties, it becomes an opportunity. A new plant, a new variety, a new experiment. The tower never has to stop producing because the gardener never has to stop learning. If you could choose only one plant from today's list to grow first in your tower, which one would it be? Drop your answer in the comments below, and if you have already been growing with a vertical system, share what has worked for you. Your experience might be exactly what another gardener in this community needs to hear. If you found this video useful, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you can join us for more practical gardening ideas every week. Thank you for spending this time with us today. Keep growing, keep experimenting, and may every season bring your garden something new worth discovering.